Judy Carter is a speaker. No, I'm not just a speaker. Do you ever just want to take this and throw it because you can't write good web copy for yourself? I mean, look at me. I get hired to write web copy for other people, but when it comes to myself, we have some psychological blocks, and what I write just sounds boring or just not right. And so I have got someone for us who's going to help us write our own web copy. Listen. I am totally psyched to hear our next guest on how to write keynote descriptions that get you booked, because it's a problem I have. I can write for everybody else, but not for myself. Well, my next guest has business experience of 25 years in corporate, and she's written for numerous websites, including the biggies such as Hewlett-Packard, and she's been featured in Fortune magazine. So she's bringing her corporate know-how for entrepreneurs, for speakers, for coaches, and she's going to show us today how to write a keynote description that gets you booked. So here is marketing consultant and expert copywriter, Patrice Rhodes-Baum. Hey.
Thank you, Judy. That was great.
So let me ask you, first of all, let's just start off, as I always like to start off, with people's mess. What are the big problems that speakers or coaches or entrepreneurs have when they go to write their own web copy?
I think, Judy, the biggest problem is that they're so excited to tell their story that they forget about how it's going to help the end user, how it's going to help that person in the audience really solve their own challenge or need or problem. Because it's not just me, here's my story, here's what I like, here's what I want to share. It's what do you need?
So give us some marketing concepts before we get into the web copy.
So the first thing I always like to ask folks in my live workshops, and I'll ask you right now, what does WIIFM stand for?
Something about Nintendo on radio.
Well, actually, and I learned this decades ago, and this is how I heard it. Your audience is always tuned in to radio station WIIFM. What's in it for me? It's a really good foundational concept for our workshop, because we have to remember, Judy, that our audience members are always thinking about what's in it for me. When you're writing your program description for your keynote or speech or workshop, you have to think about the participant's point of view.
Okay, great advice. So when writing marketing content, what is some of the keys?
A really important key comes down to a 3-letter word, using the word you. When we write marketing content, we need to write that content in a way that speaks directly to the reader, the person who might be attending your presentation or workshop. In this keynote presentation, you learn how to. You discover why it's important to. You experience a step-by-step program that empowers you to. So you can hear that we're using the word you in there. So we are looking at a company. This is not a program description for a keynote. But it is marketing content. So we're looking at a company that presents team trainings. And here's how they advertise themselves. We work with our clients to clarify their team's challenges. Next, we create custom programs for them. So here's what I did to restructure this as a benefit statement. First, you'll participate in an in-depth consultation to clarify your team's challenges. This ensures you get a custom training program that meets your desired outcomes.
So it goes for you'll participate, your team, you get that meets your desired outcome.
Exactly right. So we're addressing the prospect directly, the person reading the marketing material. We're being very specific, and it's a little bit longer, but we've created a much sharper, speaking of pencils, a much sharper benefit message. So now let's turn our attention to actually writing a program description for your keynote speech or workshop. And I thought I would first start out with an example, a weaker example, and then a hardworking example. Jane Doe's advice on mental illness. I've struggled with mental illness all my life, and I work in the field. I enjoy speaking to groups and telling inspiring stories, encouraging them to live a more fulfilled life. I also share tips to recognize signs of mental illness with their friends, family, and coworkers.
So it's really not about me, the viewer, at all, or she's going to share tips. I don't know what they are. I don't know even what to expect.
Right. And so a big problem with this is that it's vague, it's not specific, and it doesn't really promise. I mean, why should I get out of my chair, pay $100, drive across town, and see Jane Doe's advice on mental illness? It's not compelling or enticing. It doesn't use the word you. It's all, hey, it's all about me. It's my story. I'm here.
I don't even believe that's her real name. So there you go.
Right away. Lacks credibility right off the bat. So here's a potential hardworking keynote description for Jane Doe. Warnings in the workplace. Identify early signs of mental illness to ensure a high-functioning team. As a manager and supervisor, you're charged with ensuring your team is highly productive. Yet about 1 in 5 adults experiences mental illness in a given year, which can impact team dynamics and output. That's why Jane Doe, LCSW, a licensed counselor who has overcome mental illness, shares the practical advice you need to know. In this workshop, you'll learn how to recognize the early signs of mental illness, discuss mental health issues with your team, adopt stress-busting strategies for work and home.
Those of our members who've gone through the Message of You workshop can really just plug in what you've learned from there. Because first of all, it starts off with who is the audience. And it has as a manager, supervisor. So right away, Jane Doe, not her real name, but Jane Doe is really addressing right away who her speech is applicable for. So who is your audience, which is a part of the Message You formula. Now, the next sentence, you're charged with ensuring your team is highly productive, right? And that's your response. So we're now going into the problem. Yeah, you got to be highly productive, yet 1 in 4 adults experience mental illness. Now she gives a statistic which emphasizes how she is an expert. So any kind of outside, be it mental illness, is it because you say so? No. She's quoting statistics, and now she goes into the mess, the problem, the challenge, which can impact team dynamics and output. And now she brings in herself, but she brings in her credibility, her credentials. She's a licensed counselor. And now she's adding in here her personal story after her professional credentials, who's overcome mental illness. And what is she going to do? She's going to give practical advice you need to know. And in this workshop, you'll learn to, and she gives 3 bullet points about what the outcome is going to be. And she puts in the word stress as well. So this is really excellent because it really just shows how to use the Message of You formula, which is in Module 1 for those of you who haven't done it, to really find out what is your message. And now here's how to put it in your website.
As you notice in the very last 3 bullets, not everybody knows that those are called takeaways. So sometimes you can just say, instead of in this workshop you'll learn how to, you could just say takeaways. Like this is what people learn, this is what they walk away with.
And is that about the length that someone should have on their website?
This is a good example of a length. I'd say that in the past years, people have much longer program descriptions, but with everything else, things are getting shorter and tighter. So you really need to be very clean, very clear, get in and get out.
Okay, so give us, I understand you have 5 easy steps to write a keynote description that gets your book. Take it away.
Step number 1 is for you to quickly write the first draft of your program description. So here's my advice. Don't overthink this first step. I don't want you pausing for an hour. So just quickly jot down your first draft because we're going to edit and polish your content in just a bit.
Oh, pause the video and write something, and it doesn't matter that it sucks. It just matters that you write it.
All right, terrific. Step number 2 is identify one target market. So it's so important to write your keynote description to one target market, not everybody, not the world. And you saw this in our example with Jane Doe. So remember that her target audience is managers and supervisors. So the primary reason that, that you want to write your program description to one target market is that it enables you to write a program description that speaks to the specific challenge, struggle, or need that you address for the people in your audience.
So you can't just say, I speak to corporations, right? Or I notice that I've written some rather than saying I speak to nurse leaders. Is that too specific, or is corporate too general?
So you can't just say I speak to corporate, because within corporate, there are different groups and there are different levels of folks. Now, if you're talking about things like management techniques, how to give feedback to people, how to give reviews, something that leaders need to know versus a general workforce of nurses. So I speak to nurse leaders is a very nicely niched target market.
Let's say that you might have a general one on your website, but why don't we pretend that you have a submission and a speaker bureau has called you up and said, this XYZ group wants you. Now rewrite your description, including a very specific target market. Pause the video now and do that. What's step number 3?
Step number 3, clarify one key takeaway. What I'd like you to do right now is think about one key result or benefit that your audience members will learn, discover, experience, or become empowered to do when they attend your keynote or workshop. What's the one main thing that you deliver?
So pause the video now and find that one key takeaway.
Step 4, edit and work your program description. So I have a couple of quick tips for you before you actually pick up your pen and edit and rework your program description. So include your SEO keyword phrase in the main benefit message, that keyword phrase that you want to own. Also, of course, ensure your target market is clear. Make sure you're very clear about what people get. Be sure to use the word you in there as much as possible. Add your name and business title and other select information that will help reinforce credibility, and be very, very specific, not general.
Okay, so do step 4 and stop the video and edit and rework your program description. All right, do it now. If you procrastinate, I'm going to do it later. I'm not going to pause. I'll do it tomorrow. You're not going to do it. Do it now. You got your description, but wait a second, you have another step. So what is that?
Actually, step 5 is one of my favorite writing techniques. Walk away for a day. So when you walk away, you get a little bit more objectivity and perspective. Come back to it another day or so. You've been putting a lot of thinking into the program description for your keynote speech workshop. And when you come back, you can come back with a fresh perspective and more objectivity. And I tell you what, I've been a professional writer for more than 3 decades, and this is the best thing you can do.
Can you just tell us a little bit briefly about your coaching, what kind of coaching that you do?
Right, I'd love to, Judy. It's both coaching and consulting. So folks can hire me to actually write their content for them. It's quick. We have an interview, get in, get out. And it could be the speaker one sheet. It could be the program description. It can be the entire website. So I do that for folks. What I'm doing a lot more that I'm really enjoying is coaching with people, is helping you learn how to do this yourself. Again, it's the speaker one sheet, it's program description, it's your website, it's social media profiles. All of that is marketing writing. So that's one of my favorite ways to consult with people. Is just, let's set a time, tell me what your problem or issue is, and then I can help guide you through that so you can tackle it yourself and just really knock it out of the park yourself.
So I like that because, as we said, you're going to might have something a little more general on your website. But as you start to do your niche marketing to very specifics, you have to rewrite it. And it would be, I think, cost efficient to work with you and know that, yeah, I do it and I'm doing it right. So everybody just click on that button and get Patrice. So let's do a quick review. So the first step is, number 1, quickly write the first draft of your program description. Step 2, identify one target market. Step 3, clarify one key takeaway. Step 4, edit and rework your program description. Step 5, walk away and come back.
No, go back.
Review and polish and publish it. And then you better have a speech because you're going to start getting booked. Thank you so much, Patrice, for being one of the experts at The Message of You. I know our members really will get value from this. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Judy. Take care.